Hey, my name is Alex Forster, and I'm with the Joyce Agency. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Today, I get the pleasure to introduce you guys to Suzanne Brady. She is our National Account Manager for Newport Brass, Brass Tech, and Ginger. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about emerging trends in the marketplace for 2021. But before we jump into that just yet, Suzanne, talk to me a little bit about Brass Tech and Ginger and Newport Brass. Tell me a little bit about them and the company.
Sure, love to. Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate the time today to spend with you and the Joyce Agency. Yeah, I'd love to tell you a little bit about Newport Brass. As Alex said, my name is Suzanne Brady, and I am the National Account Manager for Newport Brass, Ginger, and Brass Tech. We're located out of Santa Ana, California, and we're a multi-finish manufacturer of faucets and accessories. We represent product depth that goes very deep, that has about 28 different finishes that range from things that are very trendy right now to traditional brasses and chromes that you're used to seeing in the marketplace. We've been around for a little over 30 years, and all of our products are manufactured at our facilities. We have 4 facilities in Santa Ana, California, and we have a tremendous amount of great artisans who produce and manufacture all of our products. When you work with Newport Brass, when you order a product, the product is made for you. So no products are stocked on the shelf. Actually, when you order the product, it comes into us. When we start with raw brass and we complete a product made just for you, for your design and for your application. So is there anything else, Alex, you'd like to know about Newport Brass?
No, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, just the fact that, every order is made with the person almost in mind. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, we do too. We do too.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's such a cool touch. You just don't see that much these days. But now I'm really excited for this topic, jumping into trends for 2021. Susan,
Yeah.
tell me, what are you seeing and what is Newport Brass kind of doing to incorporate some of these new trends that are going on and what we're going to see in the future?
Excellent question, Alex. I mean, a lot has changed in the market. For many, many years, people knew about sort of chrome and nickels and
Mhm.
really flat finishes. That's changed tremendously. We're seeing a real emergence of industrial design trends now. You don't just see these in faucetry, but you really see them across the entire design spectrum. And so we've really taken advantage of those. We're looking at 2 or 3 different types of basically ways in which we can manipulate the brass to have textures in them because all of our products are 100% brass. So we have the ability to take that brass and manipulate it not only in finish, but also in texture. So some of the trends that we're seeing currently, these are things that are out there in the marketplace, but really haven't been prevalent in the sort of plumbing world, is we're seeing what's called knurling. Knurling is a trend in which you see it in a lot of other industrial applications. It's basically a series of lines and crosshatches that are put into the material to create basically a crosshatch pattern. With the crosshatch pattern, what you get is you get this real nice depth to the product. So it's not just smooth. You have a real nice depth in it. It tends to be something that is a little bit more robust in how it actually looks and feels. I actually have an example here on my desk which
Oh,
I
I'd love to
certainly
see
can
it.
show you. Yeah, this is a great example. So pardon me while I just kind of manipulate this around a little bit. But this example here, if you can see this, this is actually right here, knurling. This faucet I'm actually showing is our Muncie faucet. It's actually a pull-down kitchen faucet, but it has knurling. So you can see that crosshatch pattern. It's done nicely. We put it on both the handle. It is also on the spray head. It's subtle in its texture, but it really does give you a nice sort of classic look, but with a little bit of industrial vibe to it. We're seeing this look and this feel in a whole bunch of design aesthetics, especially in industrial design and or farmhouse design. You'll see this a lot coming out in the marketplace. We're developing quite a few products that will be launched in 2021. This product was actually launched in 2020, the Muncie, that will have this knurling technique on it. I hope you can see that well across the video, but it's really a beautiful and nice texture.
It looks amazing.
Thank you. Another texture that we're seeing is something called coin edging. Coin edging is exactly as it sounds. It sounds like it really is like the edging of a coin. It's a little bit more subtle. It is really a design in which it's basically vertical patterns that are put into the brass. I have another example here on my desk. This one happens to be called the Parties. This is a brand new launch for us this year. And if I can just bring this up, you might be able to see the coin edge detailing, both on the handle and on the end of the spout. This is actually a lav faucet, but that coin edge detail is extremely subtle, but it's beautiful. It gives you a nice detail it gives you a little bit of texture, but certainly not overwhelming. You actually see in this in satin bronze. As we talk about trends, we'll talk a little bit about some of the finishes that you see as well. The one I showed you previously was in a finish called Midnight Chrome, which is our new sort of industrial, sort of blackened chrome look as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that too as we go. But that's another trend that we're seeing quite heavily. You're going to see that in a lot of the Newport Brass collections. So that's two of the things we're seeing as the market sort of emerges. The last one is something that we're just working with now called rough casting. And what rough casting is you see it on the side of buildings, you see it in other sort of larger applications. And basically what it is you take a subsurface and you actually add some grain to it. So in this particular case, you might add something like into brass using like a mold that has sand into it. So that sand actually makes like a texture across the top of it. That texture then gets incorporated into the brass and becomes part of the brass and becomes part of the component. We're doing that with a bunch of new collections. One of our new collections called the Griffey will actually have that particular rough casting in it. Unfortunately, I don't have a sample because it's really very new for us. But I think you're going to see that across a lot of applications, not just in plumbing. I think you'll see that in indoor hardware, lighting design, a lot of different designs. It's very subtle again. Many of these techniques, although are new to the plumbing world, are certainly not new to the design world. People have been using them in other applications for many, many years. We're just starting to use them in the plumbing world. So, and one of the things that you'll also see is that sometimes, it is these finishes can be very subtle at times, and then they can be very glaring at times. So it depends on what you're looking for, right? You might want something that's got a little bit of subtlety to it and something that's got a really strong, robust design. So all these textures in combination of finishes are going to give you that. It's really an exciting time for plumbing products, quite frankly. No longer do you just have to have, the chromes or the satin nickels. You can have a wide variety of not only finishes, but textures. So that's kind of what we're seeing for 2021. And I think that will actually grow. I think that actually this is just the beginning of some changes for textures in the plumbing arena.
Yeah. Well, I love the textures. I mean, I'm really looking forward to a lot of those because they look awesome, and I can't wait to see the rough ones too. I mean, it just looks amazing. And I mean, obviously we're just on camera and I'm seeing them, but I am very excited for those. But now obviously textures seem to have a huge role to play. You briefly mentioned finishes. What finishes and can we expect to see in 2021?
Yeah, finishes are really interesting. As I said, Newport Brass, we have about 30 some odd finishes. And, there are traditional finishes which have been out there for a lot of years. And those are probably the ones that most folks know about, the chromes and the satin nickels and those ones. But really, we've seen two trends in finishes kind of in the tail end of 2020. Really taking us into 2021. One is that we've seen a combination of black and matte black and gloss black has become extremely popular. But it's not just that alone. It's becoming those blacks in combination with other finishes, such as matte black with satin nickel, for instance. So a combination, a split finish, if you will, a combination of finishes. So we're seeing a huge trend in that. You'll see that in plumbing. You'll also see that, like I said, in a lot of other design applications, such as lighting. You'll see a lot of that in the lighting world as well. So that's one trend we see that kind of started last year and really has worked its way into this year. We're also seeing a huge resurgence of kind of the old world brasses and bronzes that you saw in the marketplace many, many years ago. So, many of them launched back to the 70s when people had all those brasses and bronzes, and then they kind of went out of vogue for a while. They're really back in a big way now. And what's really nice, like even with these parties that I showed you, you can combine kind of a more of a contemporary design with a traditional finish, with a satin bronze finish. And that's what we're seeing a lot in finishes, that combination of taking something that's kind of traditional, but also combining it with something that's a little bit more transitional and contemporary. Probably the number one emerging finish we're seeing right now, believe it or not, stay tuned, I think you're going to see this quite a bit, is the resurgence of white. White has become something really interesting. It's really become, designers are grasping a hold of it. We've had white in our portfolio for many, many, many years. And we can watch the trend kind of go up and go down. Well, it's coming back quite heavily, quite frankly. We're seeing it in people doing it in complete faucets in white, accessories in white, and then a combination of that split finish that I talked to you about a little bit earlier. When I talked to you about the brasses and the blacks, we're seeing those with whites too. Nothing more beautiful than, quite frankly, a matte white and a satin bronze fixture combined. They're just spectacular looking. Stay tuned. You're going to see that. I mean, you mark my words, you'll see that come on more and more strongly throughout 2021. So, we watch the trends pretty closely, and we see what's happening in the world, and we kind of see where people are going, and we try to stay with that trend as they're going. We did introduce the finish I had showed you earlier called Midnight Chrome. It's kind of a bluish, blackish chrome finish. It's quite beautiful. It really matches in kitchens quite nice. So that's a finish that I think you're going to see sort of grow as the market expands. But really, stay tuned. It's the blacks, the bronzes, and quite frankly, the whites. The whites are on a huge uptick, and I think you're going to see that across the board. So that's from our perspective what we're seeing. I don't know if you've experienced any of that out in the field and as you've been out there in the marketplace.
Well, I will say I'm definitely looking more forward to the Midnight Chrome. That one's probably one of my favorite. So I love that faucet. That one looks great. I'm really looking forward to these. Thank you so much for kind of showing us. Newport Brass has done such an amazing job of always keeping up with all the trends in the marketplace and just having a huge portfolio. But Suzanne, I just want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming aboard. Again, Suzanne Brady, our National Account Manager for Brass Tech, Ginger, and Newport Brass. And again, my name is Alex Forster. I'm with the Joyce Agency, and we are your rep in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. If you have a project coming up that you need help making selections when it comes to either a certain style, a certain finish, or a certain texture at this point, we would love to help you guys specify that project. Please reach out to us. Again, we'd love to help you. And thank you so much for watching our video today. We hope that you guys have a great day.
Thanks for everything.